So Kahvi is ready to film.
Why did you take my spot?
Also now I can show you. I have new tattoos! Me and my sister used to have these two bunnies named Ippy and Mine, and now I got them tattooed. Hello guys! Long time no see. I have no explanation. I have just been very lazy. I haven't been doing anything for weeks now, or at least anything except reading. Should maybe make some booktube videos because I've been reading so much. But today we will not talk about books. Nah, we will talk about my other obsession, which is podcasts. After I started working as a construction cleaner, I've been listening to podcasts constantly. Not only to block out all the loud noises constructions make, but also to give me a reason to ignore sexist comments I hear at work all the time. Yay, construction, destruction. But let's get started. First things first, I always listen to my podcasts on iTunes, and as you can tell, I have quite a few podcasts on my subscription list. But here today, I will give you my current top 5 podcasts. And before any of you starts yelling at me, why the hell isn't Welcome to Night Vale on this list, you son of a bitch? It's because you already know I love Welcome to Night Vale, and if you do not, I don't know what you're doing here. Funny thing, by the way, about my hair. Like, between this one and the last video I made, I actually had green hair. Look at this picture. I had green hair for several months, but I've been gone for so long that you completely missed me with green hair. To be honest with you, purple suits me much better. But I digress. Let's see some podcasts. Kahvi, fuck you. These podcasts are, by the way, in no particular order because I love them all equally. What you should know about me as a podcast listener is that I usually listen to fictional podcasts. But it is not a rule without an exception, so the first podcast on my top 5 list is The Weekly Planet. As you can tell by its name, The Weekly Planet is a weekly podcast hosted by 2 Australian men. And the podcast is basically them talking about comic book movies, actual comic books, TV shows, occasionally video games. And at the beginning of the podcast they always talk about the most recent news in the comic book or comic book movie world, and they are basically my only source of comic book movie news or comic book news. And to be honest, I'm not sure if they are the most reliable source, but they are so goddamn funny. I seriously always start my Mondays by listening to The Weekly Planet, and it brightens up my Mondays so well. And what makes this podcast even more cozy and good for me is that both of these hosts are casual nerds. I consider myself a casual nerd. I don't go head
deep into one thing I really like and know everything about, but I kind of pick and choose all these things I really like but don't really know much about them, or some things I know about but some things I don't know about.
So they are casual nerds. I am a casual nerd. We have something in common. Ay. The second podcast pick from my top 5 is King Falls AM. It is a bi-weekly fictional podcast in which we follow this strange little mountain town. And we follow this town through a radio late night talk show. So this show is funny, it's heartwarming, it's adorable, and occasionally extremely heartbreaking. And also this show is extremely underrated because the cast is great. It's just so endearing and so fun. And if there's one thing that truly shows how amazing this show is, just listen to their last Christmas episode. Christmas. I don't know how to pronounce Christmas. Christmas. Anyway, listen to it. I don't want to spoil it, but it's great. It's just so great. And speaking of underrated podcasts, my number 3 is Our Fair City. It is a post-apocalyptic comedy, yes, I think that is a thing, in which the control of everybody's lives are in the hands of one single insurance company. HeartLife. All the life you'll ever need. And although the first season is not so strong in my opinion, it is so good. First things first, the cast is enormous. There is so many people doing this thing. The sound design is amazing, all the actors are amazing. Anyway, this podcast is very long. Do not be intimidated by the 7 seasons, because once you get the hang of it, you will listen through it so quickly. Or too quickly, even in my opinion. I'm going to miss HeartLife. All the life you'll ever need. Fourth podcast on my list is Tanis. What is Tanis? That line is basically the whole podcast. It is a fictional podcast in which the main character and narrator, who by the way has an incredible voice, Nick Silver, is trying to find out what does Tanis mean? Is it just a word? Is it just a name? And what does it have to do with the woods in the Pacific Northwest of the US? It is spooky and eerie, but not too spooky. I am very sensitive with spooky stuff. I'm just saying that the 3rd season just started and I am so excited, I am so ready to continue solving the mystery of Tanis. 3rd season, baby! And finally, number 5 on my list is the Bright Sessions podcast. It is once again an incredible fiction podcast which follows a psychiatrist named Dr. Bright. Psychologist? Psychiatrist? I don't know which one is the correct title, but she is a mental health specialist and she specializes in some very interesting patients. All of her patients have special powers. Special powers, you say? Well, let's mention time travel, mind control, mind reading. As an X-Men fan, I really like the aspect of special powers in contemporary settings, but I really like how this podcast also handles mental health issues, and it does it really, really well. If I'm not wrong, I'm pretty sure there is a mental health specialist helping the show creators write the show in a very, realistic way. So although there are special powers, there are real mental health issues as well. And the cast is so adorable, everyone is so great, and hola, there is an asexual character. Representation, baby! And that was my top 5 podcast at the moment. Let me give you some quick recommendations as well. Do Go On is a Australian podcast, which is, by the way, non-fiction. It is a comedy podcast that is very fact-based. Think of that what you will. Then The Truth. Movies for your ears. And you also think of that what you will. Not Too Deep with Grace Helbig, a hilarious talk show podcast. If you won't listen to any other episodes of this podcast, listen to the episodes in which Mitchell Davis is as her guest. Then The Black Tapes, the podcast older sister of Tanis. It is much more spookier and it has very occult themes which I do not enjoy. They make me very uncomfortable. But it also has a character with the smoothest voice in the history of voices, Dr. Strand. And The Penumbra, gay stories about queer people. Let's just leave it at that. And that, my friends and frenemies, concludes my podcast video. I probably will make another one of these because podcasts are consuming my life. So, bye! This pin is literally the best thing I've ever known. Because if there is one thing you must know about me, I am the mama bear friend. I will kick your ass if you hurt my loved ones. I will kick 'em. I will kick 'em so hard.